Hello and welcome to the second episode of I know. Uh, Thank you so much for the response with the last explainer. I, yeah, but now since you must have guessed from the title what I'm trying to talk about, so first let me start with the simple concept of Chinese whisper, right? So let's take around 100 people, okay? I don't want to restrict it to 10 because you'd still know what the message is. So let's say there are around 100 people, and the message goes from one person to another. So the chief commander of the army tells to the other end that the king has said to attack the enemy. But then the second last person, as the message goes on, the second last person before the last person who was this person tells him that the enemy has attacked. So now you must have got a similar kind of idea. I think maybe in the film Bombay, the whispering movement was done well, or at least the message reached from one person to another. So just like the Chinese whisper, like how the message keeps traveling, and then slower and sooner the message itself changes, the source also changes. Just like that, the electoral bond, what I'm going to be talking about, is actually this particular instrument which has a sense of anonymity. You don't even know what it is. Like, you don't even know who has sent the money, who is receiving it, how much money to which political party. So this is basically with regard to what I'm going to be discussing in this particular video. So before I also proceed ahead, I will be throwing a lot more words. So the first word is la, money laundering, electoral bonds. So what is the common thing between all of them? La, money laundering, electoral bonds. It is transparency, and I'm telling you, it's a lack of transparency. So what we look at is that even when we are funding political parties today, so many of our parties, they serve, like, it's not like they have their own money. People donate. Sometimes people are willing to voluntarily give their services as well. So it's not wrong to actually give money to the parties to actually gain their resources and try to spread the campaign and do well for the society as what you intend it to be. But there are some corporates, or there are some companies as well which might use it for their own gain. But there might be the point that, okay, it's a corporate kind of a thing. Only corporates, when they give huge amount of money, they want a favor from the government. Otherwise, there's nothing called as free in this world. Everything has a price to pay. So this is what we'll be talking about. So electoral bond, simply that initially when people used to give money to the political party, it used to be in the form of a check or cash transaction. But then again, it started to get lesser and lesser because people started finding out because cash transactions are pretty easy to track, and then you get caught as well. So it used to be checks, but right now there's a different system called as the electoral bond. So I'll be explaining to you what it is. So electoral bonds is actually the bearer banking instrument. It is actually can only be utilized by some eligible political parties. So basically this banking instrument, or this bearer instrument, is actually this fixed income. So fixed income security, and there is no ownership information record, and also the security is also issued in the physical form to the purchaser. And only eligible political parties which are registered under section 29A of the Representation of People's Act. So basically under that section, only those which have not less than 1% of the votes in the, like, they at least have this much percentage of vote in the general elections or in the state elections as well. Only they are eligible to receive these electoral bonds. So, and these parties must be recognized by the Election Commission. As you all know, Election Commission is basically like this body which runs free and fair elections, and it is what it decides with regard to the same. So when we talk about these electoral bonds, it actually, if you refer to the electoral bond scheme of 2018, section 2A, it mentions what electoral bond is. Again, I'll be referring to it again. It means a bond which is issued in the nature of promissory note, which shall be a bearer banking instrument and shall not carry the name of the buyer or the pay. So a promissory note is basically like, today I write to you, okay, that I am going to be paying, I promise to pay you so and so in writing. So I will be paying that amount in that particular time frame, and it's actually a legal instrument. So basically, in writing, you have it that okay, you have promised to pay me this amount, and surely you'll be paying me this amount in due course of time. So that is basically like this. It actually in the form of a promissory note, and it's how it is also not carrying the name of the buyer or pay. So neither of my name, so whoever is donating. So if I'm going to the bank, so I go to the bank, I pay my money. The bond gets issued, and basically even basically there's no information about who's paying the money, no information about how much money is being put forward basically to the public at large, though as to how much money. And also it's completely secret, in secret, unlike in checks. So in checks you're in favor of so and so, and you mentioned the amount as well, but this is unlike in the electoral bond. So this is something which people might say, okay, isn't this actually legalizing corruption? Like basically I can give X amount of money to anybody I want to, and no one going to ask me, how much is it. But then let's delve deeper and find out if it's actually legal corruption, as some people might say. So section 5 of this bond scheme also mentioned that the bond shall be issued in the denomination of 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, basically like your currency, right? Your 500 rupee note, 1,000 rupee note, 2,000 rupee note. Like 1,000 rupee note is not there, but then 2,000 rupee note like that. So basically in these denominations. And these bonds are only valid to 15 days. If it's not encashed in in the time frame, you can't deposit further, or like basically there is a validity period as such. There's a validity period with regard to these bonds, and these bonds can only be encashed by an political party within the period of 15 days. Otherwise, if it's not been encashed by the political party, it will be deposited to the Prime Minister's Relief Fund, is what you might say. So who can donate? So it is defined under section 2D, wherein a person who can donate basically is an individual, a Hindu undivided family, a company, a firm, an association of persons, any agency of office, etc., can actually avail the services. And basically these should be only towards these political parties, and also the authorized bank with regard to electoral bonds is only the SBI. The State Bank of India is the only authorized bank to look into the matter of electoral bonds. No other bank can do it. So that's again one more thing which you might say, it's actually a Sarkari bank, and you might know a few more aspects with regard to it. So basically there's also a procedure for the purchase of bonds, and also that like basically when you try to like pay money, there is this application as well which will be mentioned. So also this scheme shall be available for purchase by any person for a period of 10 days. So it's either in the month of January, April, July and October, but also additionally an additional period of 30 days will be given, especially if it is the year of general elections. So basically with regard to the Lok Sabha elections, if it's that particular period of time, you can give an additional 30 days as such. So with regard to this scheme being available for purchase. And now you might be wondering, okay, how is this actually being introduced? Like, do many people know about this, and what does it actually mean to our society at large? It was actually introduced in the Finance Act. So now the Finance Act also brought in few changes as well in a few laws. So you had changes in the FCRA, then you also had changes in the RBI Act, you had changes in the Representation of People's Act, in order to accommodate this aspect of electoral bonds. So as it is introduced through this Finance Act. But also one more thing to be noted, is actually a money bill. So how it is introduced basically was through a money bill. And a money bill, basically it won't go to the Rajya Sabha. So like you learned in your civic classes, if a money bill is being issued, like if it's being introduced, it's only in the Lok Sabha as such, discussions and all with regard to passing of the bill as well. It's only in the Lok Sabha. It doesn't go to the Rajya Sabha. So again, there comes the question, because the allegation is being passed that the current government at that particular period of time when it introduced the act, they didn't have a majority in the Rajya Sabha as such. So that's one more thing which you might find an allegation as such. So now the disadvantage, also what we look at, that you have to furnish a few details, like you have your KYC, and it has to be only through the SBI. So again, SBI is a government run bank, and also even if you might say it's anonymity, you would not really know who's paying as such. Uh, the government or a particular agency. So basically, the information which is furnished by any buyer, it shall be treated as confidential and shall not be disclosed to any authority unless a particular competent court or even upon a registration of a criminal case by any law enforcement agency. So look into this matter. So there again comes the question: how anonymous it is. Can it be used to target those who are trying to donate to, say, X party and not to the current Y party or Z party, whichever party as such? So again, there comes the question with regard to that. But also interestingly, that there is a key question. Okay, is it actually going to be considered as income of the political party? Answer is, it's going to be considered as a voluntary contribution. So there is an exemption with regard to from income taxes under section 13A of the Income Tax Act. So regarding that, because basically with regard to the total income, there is an exception, and under this B clause, in respect of each such voluntary contribution, other than the contribution by the way of electoral bond excess of 20,000 rupees, such political parties keeps and maintains a record of such contribution and the name and address of the person who has made such contribution. So again, we've given an exemption to donations in the form of electoral bonds, and also they can't be given in cash. And if any party, if example, if any company or if anybody needs to give donations, they have to be profitable. The last 3 years of their operations, they have to be profitable, and they can only give 7.5% of their average profit. They can give average person for the fund with regard to the political party. Right now, it's very interesting because there is no limit to the amount the companies can donate. So basically, you can give how much ever money you want. There is no limit with regard to the donation, and the requirement for such firms, to have actually been there for 3 years and actually made profit as well, is now not been considered. Basically, there comes a question. So even a loss-making company can also donate. Even a shell company can also donate. So if a political party or if any company is actually a shell company, like these shell companies or these kind of Benami companies, and basically it's not legal in the aspect of law, even they also have a chance of actually being receiving these donations from these companies, which is actually very scary. So now, with such corporate entities actually being able to fund, so that comes into question under section 182(1) of the Companies Act. Notwithstanding anything contained in any other provision of the Act, a company other than a government company and a company which has been in existence for less than 3 financial years may contribute any amount directly or indirectly to any political party. Now, also under section 13A of the Income Tax Act, companies contributing through these electoral bonds will not be required to keep records of such donations. It is not mandatory to keep these records, and there won't be any questions also asked by the income tax authorities. And it's also a pertinent question, because previously, if you look at in the Representation of People's Act 1951, it has actually been amended this time to exempt parties to inform the election commission. Like basically, previously you had to inform the EC or the election commission if you have received any amount about 2,000 rupees. So basically, there was an allegation that people used to, since just 2,000 rupees as the limit, people used to donate the amount in small slots. But now, it's through these bonds, and there is no exemption with regard to the limit as to how much you can donate. And also one more thing which you might think of it, under the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010, so basically the FCRA, so there's also an amendment to that as well. So wherein with regard to section 2 subsection 1 in clause J and subclause 6, so the following proviso has been added: provided that where the nominal value of share capital is within the limits specified for foreign investment under the Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999 or the rules or regulations made thereunder, than notwithstanding the nominal value of share capital of a company being more than one half of such value at the time of making the contribution, such company shall not be a foreign source. This we're finally towards the end. I'd like to point to you viewers. So you must have heard all these kind of things, and you must have already been knowing of these several aspects. But also, one thing to be noted is that the silver line, where is the accountability, and where is the aspect of the transparency what any government has come. Today's government has come into power by driving out the corruption of the previous government, and every government comes like that. Okay, ye bhrashtachari kiya, or I'm going to come and clean the system. So if you're going to clean the system with this kind of a measure, I'm sorry, I like, if you're going to legalize something which was illegal, doesn't make that act morally or socially or legally correct, even if you try to do it in the form of a legislation. And even if you look into it, this, like previously, even if a company had to fund a particular party, they have to actually give their balance sheet. Like many of you commerce people must know what a balance sheet is, or anyone who's actually done this. Now you don't need to show that, because again, as I told you, shell companies or even loss-making entities can also donate to the fund as such. So finally, what is the solution? Now, the Supreme Court has actually, there was actually this petition by the ADR, which is actually an organization. But then also lately, what the Supreme Court has done, it has actually refused to stay the sale of electoral bonds ahead of the assembly polls. So you had these assembly polls in Bengal, in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Pondicherry, Puducherry. So you had these elections. So then there was a petition to stay on these, because as I mentioned to you, usually the amount of funds and donations might increase, especially during the election season as such. So that was stayed. I sincerely feel that the Supreme Court ought to take this matter, because it's a very serious matter, and also the right to information has also been exempted with regard to knowing information about these donors. So basically, as I told you, you can't really know who the donor is. You can't know where it has gone. So these kind of things are not transparent. And the opposition, I don't know if they're taking this voice forward, or if they are also party to it. So basically, is hamam mein sab nange hai. But I feel that the opposition should take up this issue and try to actually move ahead. If you are trying to solve this if trying to bring change in society by trying to drive away this corrupt system, even if you are receiving lesser amount of contribution as compared to the current dispensation, you ought to not take part of it, also being party to it. So there's actually this silver lining to it, is that JMM, the JMM is actually a Jharkhand party. This party has actually declared they had received their electoral bond. I think around 1 crore, if I'm not wrong. They had declared it as well. So let's start with this notion that in order to bring politicians to accountability, they need to reveal their source of funding. They cannot be under RTI. Come on, the political party for the people, and if a regular common citizen is also being affected because you're serving the public. So in the end, the opposition, the political party, and the party in the government in the center, if all of them are acting party, all of them are privy to all this, I'm not sure how far can we go ahead with democracy being clean, wiping off these corrupt notions. So I'd like to end with this story. So I think all of you must be knowing this biblical story. Judas, as you all know, had betrayed Jesus Christ. So he actually felt, okay, after Jesus was taken from his disciples, and then the ongoing towards the crucifixion aspect, he felt that he had, okay, I'm really sorry for this. Basically he wanted to return back these 30 pieces of silver. So he had received 30 pieces of silver, these guys to be killed or crucified. So he goes to these priests, okay, who had given him the money, and he says that I have sinned by betraying innocent blood. So then they say to them, what does it have to do with us? You bear the responsibility. So then Judas throws the silver coin, and he went and he hanged himself. And the chief priests, they picked up the silver, and they say it's unlawful to put this in the treasury since it's blood money. And then they use the money to buy the potter's field, as a burial ground for foreigner, and that is called as the field of blood. So, also, by the way, Modi ji has also referred to Judas in the election in Kerala, if I'm not wrong.
Judas betrayed Lord Christ for a few pieces of silver. LDF has betrayed Kerala for a few pieces of gold.
So, who is Judas? Who are the chief priests who are party to this? And are we the common citizens who are being cheated? These are the primary question which we need to ask. We cannot go on to say it's politics, it's corruption. I'm sorry, we may not be able to achieve a completely corrupt free state, but we can go on to achieving that. We can go on to in the process of trying to achieve or eliminate corruption out of the system. So with that being said, I'd like to close with this, and thank you so much for tuning in. Do like our content, and also I would encourage you all to actually put forward your comments if you actually were able to understand what I was trying to bring forward, or if there's some more deliberation which need to be done as well with regard to the topic. Very free to take a feedback. I received a good amount of feedback as well the previous time with regard to how the session was. And also, if you like this content, please do share it as well. It will be available on several of our platforms. It's available on our website. It will be mentioned over here. And also, it's available on our YouTube channel, in Spotify, in Apple iTunes, so in Apple Podcasts, and also in the Instagram as well. So if you like them, do share it to your family. Do share it to those who are responsible citizens and who want to question what's really happening around us. So thank you and stay tuned.